Good evening, America. Welcome to your Wednesday edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you as always from Washington, D.C. The smoke has cleared from Super Tuesday, and it is absolutely clear now it will be a rematch of Joe Biden and Donald Trump in the fall election. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, well, she suspended her campaign today. Likewise, Joe Biden's chief rival, Dean Phillips, he also suspended his campaign today, so it is now an inevitability that the two men who competed for the 2020 race will again be head-to-head in November. We have a lot going on today. Mitch McConnell endorsed President Trump, burying the hatchet. That's a big moment. The Republican Party is unifying. We've got a great show. We're going to cover all the headlines with you in a few seconds with Amanda. And then we're going to kick off the show with an incredible guest. She's one of the most innovative governors in America. She's always rated that way. South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is going to join us for the first two blocks of the show. We're really excited about that. Amanda, so much going on in the world today, but I think the most important thing is Americans have clarity. They know what the November election looks like now.
That's right. That's right. And I know you have some breaking news, so I just want to get through some headlines. Speaking of Mitch McConnell, I know he buried the hatchet, but I'm pretty sure he knows where it was buried. So, all right, the last I saw last night, Democrat Congressman Adam Schiff here in California, he was leading former LA Dodger first baseman Steve Garvey by nearly 7 points. But after waking up this morning and with more votes still being tallied, including mine, I got that text message this morning, the margin is under 1 point now. In fact, it's under 0.8 of 1 point. So another shocking item from last night, over 60% of San Franciscans voted in favor of Propositions E and F. Now, Prop E gives police more powers to fight crime, pursue suspects, and allows drones for catching criminals. And Prop F will require single adults on city welfare to be screened for drug use. Now, one thing that didn't shock me is how the coastal parts of California, of course, remain very dark blue. While almost every single landlocked county in California is bright red, the entire coastline of this state went to Joe Biden and Adam Schiff. Now, nevertheless, Steve Garvey is going to have to make up that distance over the next, 7.5 months. So meanwhile, down in Atlanta, Georgia, the Peach State's Senate committee investigating Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis has commenced as of this morning. Now, the members of the Special Committee on Investigations heard testimony from attorney Ashley Marchant, who was the attorney who originally filed a motion to disqualify Willis from the Georgia 2020 election RICO case that former President Donald Trump is charged as a co-defendant in. And heading northeast back up to Capitol Hill, tonight lawmakers are set to vote on a 1,050-page spending package that includes nearly $13 billion worth of earmarks. Unbelievable. Or what's referred to as, of course, a pork barrel spending bill. Now, the spending package contains 6 appropriations bills totaling roughly $460 billion. And keep in mind that despite the House Freedom Caucus and Republican Senate complaints, our nation is still on the hook for over $34.5 trillion in debt. Yeah. Don, if President Trump wants to win this fall, I think it's safe to say that he needs to come up with a comprehensive plan to cut the size of government, cut the pork barrel spending, and do so all while rolling back the red tape like he did in his first term and creating new jobs. So your thoughts on all of that and this new breaking news that you have from Biden associate Jason Galanis?
Yeah, let's turn to that just real quickly, because I think our first guest has been such an articulate fighter against Chinese influence in this country. New emails that James Comer, Jim Jordan have that were provided by Jason Galanis. We're going to show them on screen here in a second. They capture Hunter Biden's business partner saying out loud what they normally would keep secret, which is the Chinese who were investing in some of Hunter Biden's initiatives were really thinking they were buying access. They called it an access vehicle to to them, the vice president's family. They knew exactly what they were doing in selling and taking money from one of our largest strategic adversaries in the world, China. These emails are remarkable. We're going to make them public tonight. There's going to be a big story with Stephen Richards and I in the morning, but I just wanted to get these out there just so you can see them for a second. The Chinese knew the only reason they wanted to give Hunter Biden money is because they thought they were going to get access. Those are the words of Hunter Biden's own business partners. Just keep that in mind as we go through tonight's conversation. We'll have a big story tomorrow to fill out all the details. All right, we're going to turn to our first guest. I am so excited. She is consistently rated as one of the most innovative governors in America, one of its most popular. And she has shown time and again that you can use state rights to solve problems that the federal government in Washington seems to fumble. Joining us from the great state of South Dakota is Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, great to have you on.
Oh my goodness, thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful to be with you.
We love talking to you because so many people walk around this city telling us the things they can't do. But in South Dakota, you always are finding things that you can accomplish. Your exercise of state rights is really a model. You can solve geopolitical issues with China. You can deal with anti-Semitism. Meanwhile, Washington fumbles it. A big one today, right? You're going to be signing some historic legislation to take on the scourge of anti-Semitism.
Yeah, we actually did that just a couple of hours ago. We signed a bill that defined what anti-Semitism was. It gave powerful examples that we can use in litigation and in court to make sure that hate crimes stop, not just in South Dakota, but this will be used as model legislation in many other states because it is written so strong and it was unified within the Jewish community, within the groups that have always stood strong with Israel, and it is something that we will use throughout the United States of America to make sure that anti-Semitism is stopped. I think all of us were horrified by what happened on October 7th, and what I was even more horrified about after that was the pro-Hamas support that some uneducated people in this country endorsed and wrapped their arms around. So we're going to use this as an opportunity not just to stop hate crimes, but to stand with our Israel allies and to also make sure that we're pushing back on terrorist organizations who want to destroy not just Israel, but also the United States of America.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah. And some people might not realize this, but South Dakota's Jewish population has been there for nearly 200 years. They came during the gold rush and settled in Deadwood. So a very important part of South Dakota's culture and community. I want to switch gears to China because you have been so fierce in combating from a state capacity China's influence in the United States with respect to the purchase of farmland, but also over on social media. And the Biden campaign announced that they are going to be using TikTok to a pretty great degree as far as their campaign. You banned it for statewide employees on their devices. What kind of message does it send that the Biden campaign is willing to be vulnerable on a platform like TikTok?
Well, you referenced it earlier when you were talking about Hunter Biden. The guy has no gifts or skills or talents, yet he was selling access to his father and doing it to China. That is exactly what TikTok is selling people's information, data, and access to China. And Biden is facilitating it through his campaign. There's a different set of rules for Joe Biden, apparently, than the rest of the American people, because after South Dakota was the first state in the country to ban TikTok, dozens of other states followed our lead. The federal government even followed our lead and banned it on federal devices. And yet Joe Biden says, no, still good enough for me. We're going to continue to partner with China, and all they want to do is to destroy our country. So this will mark the 30th year that I have worked on China policy, which has been a long time. But I have systematically watched China steal our intellectual property. They have manipulated their currency. They have punished us with trade agreements and regulations. They've come in and purchased our fertilizer and chemical companies, our processing systems. Now they're stealing our data and information and spying on us, and then crossing our southern border to infiltrate us with military-aged men that are here only to damage us. Their goal is to control the world and be the strongest power, and the only way they can do that is by taking down America. Make no mistake, the people in this country need to understand that Joe Biden is facilitating that by continuing to use TikTok, and when he does it, to try to win elections.
Yeah, so important. I think everywhere I go, I get this question, Governor. Why are so many military-age Chinese men coming across the border? They can't leave their country unless their country gives them an exit visa, so their country knows where they're going. Do you have any intelligence, has anything, the state police or any of the apparatus that you have, your Homeland Security experts, any explanation for what their motive is? What are they doing coming into the country in such historic numbers?
They are coming here not just with permission, they are coming here with a mission from their government. They are CCP members that are told to come and infiltrate the United States of America to collect data and information. In fact, just this summer, we knew and had warnings from the State Department that there was going to be spies in South Dakota that were here to steal our genetics, on our seeds and our agricultural commodities, and on other information on how we grow our food in this country. And that's just in one industry. We know that they are sending these individuals here to steal our way of life so that they can control it and we become dependent on them. And when they control our food, when they control our pharmaceutical supply, which they already do, when their military is stronger than ours, which it is getting there, and when they control our debt, which they are doing by buying our treasury bonds, Boy, it is a scary time unless we get a president in that White House that really stands up and understands the threat that China is and doesn't sell access like Joe Biden does through his son Hunter.
So important.
Governor, we referenced this a moment ago, but it's not just China. You also signed a new bill on Monday, I believe, that bans China, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, and Iran from buying agricultural land in your state. I imagine that frees up a lot of land for purchase for South Dakotans, which sounds like a good thing to me.
It does, and it's important that we don't have neighbors that hate us. You know, and in South Dakota in particular, we have Ellsworth Air Force Base. So Ellsworth Air Force Base is the home of our B-1 bombers. Our MQ-9 Reaper drones operate out of there, and it is going to be the first base in the United States of America where the B-21s will be established. That is the platform that will protect our country for the next 50 years. And all of our allies that we need to support and all of our strategic assets will need to be located in the center of this country to respond to the threats that we have. So Ellsworth is the key to the United States' success and security, and we're going to make sure that we don't have China buying land next to Ellsworth or in our state, and that we know who those neighbors are and that they support our national security interests. So that bill was incredibly innovative. We had broad support between ag groups, but also business groups, legislators, and got that signed into law as well. And I believe other states will be looking at that to make sure that we don't have China continuing to buy up land inside of our country. Lord knows that they never allow us to come over there and buy up their land.
Yeah, exactly. There's no reciprocity whatsoever. Governor, you mentioned the Biden family. A few years ago, Joe Biden looked in the camera in 2020 and said, my family didn't get any money from China. Donald Trump's lying. We now know that isn't true. It's $8 million at least that they got from Chinese interests. And the things they were doing were like helping them try to get energy assets on our soil and take it over to China. What message does it send to China that the current president has so much financial interest or had so much financial interest in Beijing?
That they own him. That China owns our president. And we knew he was lying. Now we have proof. He should be held accountable to that. And honestly, the consequences for that action and the proof of those emails and documents, he should be held accountable to that even before this election. But the American people need to open up their eyes and recognize that they have a president that is not putting them first. He's putting a communist party ahead of them, and he's fundamentally trying to remake this country through an invasion over our southern border and by selling out to the Chinese government.
Real quickly, we're going to hit a commercial break, but do you support impeachment? Do you think there's enough evidence to impeach Joe Biden?
I'm going to look at these documents, but if these documents are valid and if they appear to be, absolutely, that is grounds to open up these kinds of hearings.
Yeah, very good. Governor,
I have another question about that, but it's a longer one, so I'll catch it on the other side. I'm going to ask a juicy question before we go, though, because it's fast. You were number 2 in the straw poll. You tied with Vivek Ramaswamy for the VP role. What would you say if he asked?
Well, in my book, I always say I'm number 1, he's number 2. So, but no, I'm kidding. That was wonderful to see that kind of support. But I want President Trump to pick a vice president that will help him win. I'll do whatever I can. But we need him back in the White House because we need to make America great again. Enough is enough.
Well, it's a great honor to see what CPAC said about you. It's well earned. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. You've graciously agreed to stick around for another block, Governor. We're going to take you up on that. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more with our exclusive interview with Governor Kristi Noem right after this.